Behind steel doors, the Nazis hoarded mountains of gold. But as the Reich collapsed, much of it vanished, leaving behind one of history's greatest mysteries. If you value documented World War II history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. Now back to the story. Hidden behind steel doors, fortunes amassed while the world descended into chaos. As Nazi forces advanced across Europe, they systematically confiscated gold, currency, and priceless artifacts from occupied territories. From central banks in Vienna and Warsaw to private estates in France and the Netherlands, treasures of immense value were catalogued, transported, and consolidated under strict secrecy. Viewers are immediately drawn into the suspense. The scale of the operation is staggering, the precision of logistics almost unfathomable, and the stakes both financial and moral extraordinary. The accumulation process was meticulously bureaucratic. Officers maintained ledgers, coded records, and inventory lists, each item marked with a careful notation of origin, weight, and significance. Entire divisions of administrators, accountants, and guards were dedicated to safeguarding these assets. Gold bars, currency, gemstones, and artwork were moved under heavy guard, often transported via armored trucks or freight trains. Suspense builds for the audience as the narrative juxtaposes the mechanical efficiency of bureaucracy with the human suffering from which these riches were stolen. Seizures were not limited to state treasuries. Jewish families, aristocratic estates, and cultural institutions were systematically stripped of valuables. Paintings by old masters, rare manuscripts, religious artifacts, and precious metals were confiscated and funneled into vaults designed to withstand both human intrusion and the chaos of wartime destruction. The audience is engaged morally and emotionally, reflecting on the human costs behind the glittering wealth and the ethical darkness of such operations. The sheer scale of storage posed logistical challenges. Large vaults were constructed in secret locations, often underground or within fortified buildings. Security was tight, armed guards patrolled corridors, and complex locking systems ensured that no single individual could access the hoard alone. Despite these precautions, the collapse of the Third Reich brought vulnerability. Staff were under immense pressure to maintain secrecy while responding to the rapid advance of Allied and Soviet forces. The audience feels suspense and anticipation, imagining the tension of individuals charged with protecting treasures while witnessing the empire's disintegration. Every shipment, every ledger, every guarded corridor reflected not only meticulous organization, but also the ideological priorities of the regime. Looted wealth was intended to fund the war, reward loyal officers, and preserve power beyond the battlefield. As Nazi leaders foresaw the impending collapse of Germany, the value of these hidden fortunes became both a lifeline and a liability. For viewers, this creates intellectual curiosity. How much was lost, how it was protected, and what became of these treasures as the war reached its end. Ultimately, the accumulation of wealth in the Reich's vaults exemplifies the interplay of greed, strategy, and human ambition. It is a story of audacious theft, bureaucratic mastery, and moral transgression. For the audience, the narrative combines historical immersion, suspense, and reflection on ethical consequences, setting the stage for the unfolding mystery of treasures that disappeared, vanished into chaos, and left legends that would endure for decades. Every corridor held secrets, every lot protected unimaginable wealth. As Nazi officers transported gold, art, and other valuables to centralized vaults, extraordinary precautions were taken to ensure the treasures remained invisible to both enemies and civilians. Hidden passageways, underground bunkers, and reinforced vaults were strategically located to safeguard stolen assets from advancing Allied forces. The audience is immediately drawn into tension, imagining corridors lined with crates of gold, priceless paintings, and rare artifacts, all under watchful eyes and complex security protocols. Security personnel were meticulously selected and trained. Officers and guards were assigned not only for physical protection, but also for secrecy and loyalty. Surveillance was constant, and even internal staff were vetted rigorously to prevent leaks. Vaults were often monitored in shifts, with armed sentries stationed at entrances and key checkpoints, ensuring that no unauthorized individual could gain access. For viewers, the tension and stakes are palpable. The treasures represented both immense wealth and mortal danger for those responsible for them. Beyond physical security, the Nazi regime implemented extensive concealment measures. Valuable items were stored in underground chambers, false walls, and hidden compartments, sometimes beneath civilian infrastructure or within remote rural estates. Transportation routes were carefully planned to avoid enemy reconnaissance, using decoy convoys, night movements, and alternate pathways when necessary. Each detail adds suspense, giving the audience insight into the ingenuity and paranoia that permeated the final months of the Reich. Coded records and meticulous ledgers were critical to managing these hordes. Every item was documented under a system designed to obscure its true nature and origin. Only a select few could interpret the codes, reducing the risk of theft or accidental exposure. The audience is engaged intellectually, understanding how bureaucracy and secrecy intertwined to protect these treasures while simultaneously highlighting the regime's obsession with control. Despite these measures, the collapsing Third Reich introduced vulnerabilities. As Allied and Soviet forces advanced, panic and chaos sometimes led to hurried relocations, abandoned storage sites, and hastily hidden treasures. The audience is drawn into suspense. Each vault could hold secrets that might never be recovered, and every misstep could mean the permanent loss or discovery of unimaginable wealth. The narrative emphasizes both human ingenuity and the fragility of even the most meticulously guarded systems. Ultimately, the story of security and concealment illustrates a duality: brilliance and obsession on one side, moral corruption and greed on the other. Nazi officers applied intelligence, strategy, and discipline to safeguard looted treasures, yet the human cost and ethical depravity underpin every security measure. For viewers, this section combines suspense, historical immersion, and reflection on human cunning and ambition, setting the stage for the ensuing mysteries of vanished riches, rumors, and lost artifacts. Under the cover of collapsing fronts, fortunes vanished without a trace. As Allied forces advanced across Germany and Eastern Europe, Nazi officers scrambled to relocate their accumulated treasures. Gold bars, currency, and priceless artifacts were loaded onto trains, trucks, and even horse-drawn carts, often under the cloak of darkness. The audience immediately feels suspense. Each movement could determine whether vast fortunes would disappear forever or fall into enemy hands. The logistics of relocating such immense wealth were formidable. Convoys were carefully planned, with multiple layers of security. Armed guards accompanied each shipment, while coded messages and false documentation concealed destinations. At times, treasures were split into smaller loads to reduce risk, sent along hidden routes, or buried temporarily in remote locations. Viewers experience a heightened sense of tension as the narrative reveals the precarious balance between speed, secrecy, and survival during the final chaos of the Reich. Sabotage and diversion were also employed. Some treasures were intentionally destroyed, hidden beneath rubble, or concealed in secret compartments within buildings and tunnels. Officers feared both the advancing enemy and internal betrayal. Mistrust ran deep among those responsible for safeguarding the wealth. Suspense is amplified as audiences imagine crates of gold buried beneath shattered streets or secret vaults, waiting to be uncovered or lost forever. The transportation itself was fraught with danger. Trains carrying gold sometimes became targets of air raids, while trucks traversed war-torn roads littered with wreckage and abandoned military equipment. In some instances, treasures were transferred hastily from one location to another to evade detection. Every misstep could mean capture, destruction, or permanent loss. Viewers are drawn into a tense narrative, connecting historical facts with the human instinct to protect wealth under extreme pressure. Alongside the physical movement of treasure, rumors and misinformation played a critical role. Many officers spread false leads, hoping to confuse the Allies or conceal the most valuable caches. These rumors persisted for decades, fueling stories of hidden trains, sunken ships, and secret vaults that would never be found. For the audience, this creates intellectual curiosity. How much was lost? How it might still be hidden, and how legend intertwines with fact. Ultimately, The Flight of the Gold is a story of desperation, ingenuity, and moral corruption. Nazi officers, facing imminent defeat, risked everything to safeguard stolen fortunes, often employing extraordinary measures to conceal their loot. For viewers, this section combines suspense, historical immersion, and fascination with both human greed and the enduring mystery of lost treasures. Each vanished shipment is a testament to secrecy, fear, and the chaos that accompanied the collapse of a regime, leaving an enduring legacy of intrigue and speculation. Whispers of gold beneath the earth captivated treasure hunters for decades. Even after the fall of the Third Reich, rumors circulated of hidden caches, secret vaults, and missing trains laden with unimaginable wealth. These stories, often conflicting, fueled both curiosity and obsession, as historians, adventurers, and opportunists attempted to separate fact from legend. The audience is immediately drawn into suspense, imagining sunken trains, buried gold, and concealed art. Each tale more tantalizing than the last. The first post-war accounts came from survivors, former officers, and locals who witnessed hurried evacuations or were told secrets under duress. Each testimony varied, with discrepancies in location, quantity, and timing. Some claimed vast vaults existed deep within the Bavarian Alps. Others described trains that disappeared into forests or rivers. The uncertainty created a fertile ground for intrigue, drawing in viewers who are fascinated by historical puzzles and the enduring human desire for wealth. False discoveries and hoaxes further complicated the narrative. Treasure hunters occasionally claimed to find gold or artifacts, only for the evidence to turn out fraudulent. Some were elaborate schemes by opportunists seeking fame or profit, while others were misinterpretations of wartime remnants. The audience is engaged morally and intellectually, reflecting on the thin line between hope and deception, and the extent to which human greed shapes historical perception. Government and scholarly investigations also contributed to the mix of truth and rumor. Some caches were verified, while others remained speculative, lost to bureaucracy, or inaccessible due to destroyed records. Archaeological digs and official searches often confirmed fragments of treasure, but failed to resolve the larger mysteries. Suspense is heightened as viewers understand that the combination of secrecy, wartime destruction, and deliberate misinformation ensured that many stories would remain unresolved. Local legends and folklore added another layer of mystique. Villagers told tales of hidden bunkers, cursed gold, or ghost trains that could never be reached. Some of these accounts were rooted in genuine wartime events, while others evolved over decades into myth. For the audience, this creates a tension between historical accuracy and imagination, prompting curiosity about what might be fact, what is embellished, and what has been lost to time. Ultimately, rumors and false leads illustrate the enduring allure of the missing wealth of the Third Reich. Each story, whether true or imagined, captivates because it combines mystery, danger, and the tantalizing possibility of discovery. For viewers, this section fosters suspense, intellectual engagement, and critical reflection on history, legend, and human fascination with the unknown. The narrative leaves the audience poised for the next chapter, where modern searchers attempt to resolve decades of speculation, blending historical fact with the persistent power of myth. Despite advanced technology, the secrets remain buried, tantalizing historians and adventurers alike. Modern searches for Nazi treasures have spanned decades, combining meticulous archival research with cutting-edge technology. Archaeologists, historians, and even private treasure hunters have sifted through ruins, scoured forests, and probed underground bunkers in search of gold, art, and valuables thought lost forever. For viewers, this section builds suspense as each expedition carries the promise of discovery or the disappointment of empty vaults. Government agencies and historical societies have undertaken rigorous investigations, examining wartime records, transport logs, and survivor testimonies to trace the movements of stolen wealth. Metal detectors, ground-penetrating radar, and drone surveys have been deployed in locations once considered secure by the Nazis. Every lid, every unexplored tunnel, and every archival note offers the potential to uncover a hidden fortune, keeping audiences on edge as the narrative explores the blend of history, technology, and human curiosity. Private treasure hunters and enthusiasts have also contributed to the mystery. Motivated by historical intrigue, personal ambition, or financial reward, they have launched independent expeditions across Eastern Europe and Germany. Some reported promising findings, only for discoveries to be dismissed, misidentified, or claimed by authorities. This creates dramatic tension, emphasizing both the difficulty of the search and the seductive allure of long-lost riches. Viewers experience the thrill of near discovery, the frustration of dead ends, and the persistent hope that some treasures remain hidden. In addition to physical searches, scholarly analysis plays a crucial role. Historians cross-reference transport routes, guard assignments, and archival documentation to identify likely storage locations. They examine wartime communications, private diaries, and surviving witnesses to reconstruct the logistics of treasure movements. Audiences are intellectually engaged, gaining insight into both the operational brilliance of Nazi looters and the painstaking efforts required to trace their hidden wealth decades later. The psychological fascination with these treasures extends beyond mere material value. Each search evokes a sense of mystery, danger, and historical significance. What was stolen? How much remains undiscovered? Could these treasures still be hidden beneath modern cities, farmland, or forests? Suspense builds as the narrative shows that every excavation, no matter how technologically sophisticated, confronts the uncertainty of war, time, and human error. Ultimately, modern excavations highlight the enduring tension between history and myth. While some caches have been recovered, many remain elusive, fueling legends and inspiring further investigation. For viewers, this section delivers a combination of suspense, historical immersion, and intellectual engagement. It emphasizes the complexity of post-war investigations, while appealing to the innate curiosity that drives the search for lost wealth, bridging the past and present in a story that continues to captivate the imagination. Some treasures are lost, yet their stories continue to shape our understanding of greed, power, and history. The vanished wealth of the Third Reich has left a lasting imprint on culture, literature, and media, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and films. Authors and historians have woven these tales into narratives of intrigue, suspense, and human ambition, transforming historical events into enduring legends. For viewers, this section sparks intellectual curiosity while providing emotional engagement, highlighting how material loss can echo across generations. The fascination with missing Nazi treasures is not only about gold or art. It reflects humanity's enduring fascination with mystery and moral consequence. Each story of vanished wealth carries layers of ethical reflection, questions of rightful ownership, restitution, and the human cost of greed. Museums and archives grapple with recovered artifacts, often facing dilemmas about provenance, repatriation, and historical justice. The audience is invited to consider the intersection of history, morality, and culture, engaging both emotionally and intellectually. Literature and media have amplified these stories. From suspenseful thrillers imagining treasure hunts to documentaries recounting wartime plunder, the narratives often blend fact with legend. While some accounts are grounded in archival research and eyewitness testimony, others are exaggerated or speculative, adding to the allure and mystique. For viewers, this mixture of truth and imagination maintains suspense and curiosity, encouraging reflection on how history is recorded, interpreted, and mythologize. The ethical dimension is equally compelling. The treasure's disappearance prompts questions about justice and accountability. Who benefits from the plunder? And who bears responsibility for restitution? Scholars have debated the moral implications of looted wealth and the ongoing efforts to return stolen items to rightful owners. These discussions resonate with audiences because they combine historical knowledge with contemporary relevance, bridging past atrocities with modern ethical considerations. Suspense arises naturally as viewers ponder what might still be hidden and how human ambition continues to shape these narratives. Moreover, the legends of lost treasures influence local communities and collective memory. Villages, towns, and nations remember the events differently, sometimes blending myth with historical reality. Archaeological discoveries, even minor ones, reignite interest and debate, reinforcing the cultural impact of these vanished riches. Audiences are drawn into the tension between historical fact and folklore, exploring how narratives of loss and secrecy continue to shape our understanding of human behavior, ambition, and morality. Ultimately, the story of lost Nazi treasures is more than material. It is a lens through which viewers examine human desire, ethics, and historical memory. The treasure's absence magnifies their significance, ensuring that their legends endure. For viewers, this section delivers reflection, suspense, and engagement, leaving a lasting impression of curiosity, moral contemplation, and historical awareness. It closes the chapter with a resonant message. Even in absence, history teaches, challenges, and fascinates.